So I had something else I wanted to share in the last episode of the Aqua anyway, but it escaped my mind. It was about pity. And I'm not saying to be sociopathic or don't feel bad for people, but I think sometimes I may come off this way in my videos about certain topics. I tend to say or critique a situation that I'm talking about in a certain video by saying people are being too emotional, right? You've heard me say that. And I think it may come off a bit too insensitive or it's misunderstood here. So 2023 and 2024 were very rough years for me. 2024 was like the most challenging for me. By a lot of inner work and patience, I'm off my medication now and I'm in a healthy mental space. I've turned a lot around in every corner, right? Even people around me tell me that I'm a completely different person now. And one important thing is that I learned something about emotions that sort of caused me to not be so reliant on them, which helped me contribute to the changes in my life, which is also why I may push the narrative on my videos that being emotional is not always the best. I forgot how the saying or the tale goes, but it deeply relates to something I felt that caused a lot of my misery in the past. In the tale or fable, there's a hiker who was walking up a mountain pathway. The hiker traveled this way numerous times, but this time there was a rattlesnake that was stuck in a trap. And the snake trap was causing the rattlesnake to suffer a slow and painful death. It was dying. It looked miserable and in bad shape. Now, he felt so bad for the snake. It's a creature of nature. It doesn't deserve this slow and painful death, especially by a man-made contraption. So he goes over and he frees the rattlesnake from the trap and he takes care of it. He mends it to full recovery. Very heartfelt gesture. After mending it to full recovery, the first thing the rattlesnake does is bite the hiker. And as the hiker is dying from this venom bite, whatever, he says to the rattlesnake, "Why did you bite me? I saved you. I took care of you." And the rattlesnake replies, "You knew what I was when you picked me up." This tale or fable is primarily about trust and consequences. When you are too emotionally driven, you let it override your decision making. You may feel pity for someone or something that is dangerous, right? You may feel temptation or the urge to, quote, save someone or be there for someone who only brings bad outcomes. Sometimes we let our empathy cloud our judgment, and it makes us ignore clear signs of danger. When the snake goes, "You knew what I was," this highlights the harsh truth about the reality of consequences. This is what I was mentioning last video about how I knew many people had the potential to hurt me. They show signs that they can't or are willing to. And I felt bad for them though. So I let my empathy and my emotions put my guard down. Humans are naturally wired to have empathy, although some don't have it as much as others for many different reasons, right? But the problem with empathy is that it becomes a liability at times when it overrides your logic and self-preservation. When you stay in toxic relationships or friendships because you feel bad for your partner's struggles, that's a problem. You may not want to admit it. And this is the crazy thing. This is how you know some people are like, you're actually in like some weird cycle right now. You don't want to admit it, but it's a serious issue. You are being too emotional. Disagree with me all you want. That's overriding your logic and self-preservation. And if you disagree to justify being in that toxic relationship, do you even think that makes sense? Think about how that sounds by you saying that. Like, even though this relationship is toxic, they're going through their struggles. So, it's okay. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, and another example, right, is helping someone who has a history of being betrayed or has a misguided sense of loyalty. Someone with trust issues, right? It's not my job to fix you if you have trust issues. I'm not your therapist. Why do you think I have to deal with this? Why do I have to deal with this in general? You're the one with trust issues. I wasn't the one who did that to you. But you know what happens? You know what people do? And you know what I've done too? Okay, this person has trust issues. I'll be the first sign of hope that they could trust people, that there are good people out there. I'll show to them that there are good people they could trust out there. Dude, that's not going to do anything if they don't do any inner work. You can inspire someone to do inner work, but you can't remotely be the light in the darkness all the time. When you let your emotions like guilt or hope or the desire to quote fix others, right? When you let those emotions sort of override you, you start creating false narratives in your head, convincing yourself and maybe them, if you express your intentions, of course, that your kindness will inspire their change. But oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes, all this does is make you hurt yourself. And I'm sure you can think of somebody or a situation where you were being kind to somebody, right? And because you felt like your kindness will help them get through any situation or be a beacon of light for them, and they turn around, they still hurt you. You realistically hurt yourself by putting yourself in that situation because you felt there was hope. You felt guilt that they were going through something. You know what I'm saying? And people are going to misunderstand my point here because they may be thinking very surface level right now, right? Don't get it twisted. Let me reiterate for the people in the back. Reinforcing or helping someone adopt good behavior isn't always done by good intentions alone. You can be nice to somebody. You can have empathy for them. You can care for somebody. But if they don't feel or don't do anything, even in progress, to change themselves, to improve themselves, your good intentions, your empathy is being wasted. This goes back to the hiker and the snake story. The hiker had good intentions. He had pity. He saw that poor snake suffering from that trap, right? It was dying slow and painfully. And I'm sure a lot of us would feel that same way too. As if it was any animal, right? You see an animal on the side of the road probably dying a slow and painful death. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You just drive by, you go, oh, wow, you're looking crazy, right? But you're going to care, right? So he, out of a good heart, knowing that even though knowing a snake will always be a snake, he felt he can save the snake. And the snake did what a snake does. People will screw you over, no matter how much nurturing or care for them that you give them. Because again, unless they are capable of doing inner work, they're going to always be who they are deep down. So when I say in the beginning of the video, I come off very insensitive in my videos. When I critique certain situations and say, people are being too emotional. People are emotionally attached to this too much. I mean it in a way where people have so much societal pressure or some sort of inner psychological urge where, they end up creating denial for red flags in people and situations. You end up creating poor dynamics, social dynamics, where your emotional investment is something that traps you in a situation, despite you rationally and logically knowing that it's bad for you. And here's what's funny about that hiker or snake story, because some of you may have missed a crucial detail, and it relates to what I just said. Notice how when the snake spoke to the hiker, he says, right, you knew what I was. You notice that the snake never apologized? The snake never hinted at a reform for its behavior. It acted true to its form, which should remind us that we need to use our emotions intelligently. It's okay to have emotions, but if you leave it unchecked, then it starts to destroy your ability to recognize caution. And then as a result, and as we've all experienced in our lives, we become victims of our heart. To wrap this up, when I say this helped me, I'm not saying I don't care for other people or situations. Again, I'm just not willing to, listen, I started to learn to self-preserve more. I feel bad for a lot of things going on out there and for the people who are going through certain stuff that I read about or hear about. But hey, I hear you going, sorry. If you need any help, let me know. But I got to focus on what I'm going through right now. I'll try to help if I can. Sorry, man. And ever since I started doing this, everything started to get better. I won't say it magically started happening, but I think it's very clear that it's easier for me to make friends because I'm not overcommitting to anyone else's life anymore. I'm not emotionally attaching to things because things going on in my businesses, for example, like I'm not a therapist to anybody anymore, essentially. Like I don't want to listen to this stuff, bro. Like, and finally, I'm not wasting my time overly investing my emotion into things that are going on in the world that have nothing to do with me. Yes, it's sad what I'm seeing and reading about. I may have an opinion, which may lead to the videos I upload, but move on. That's it. Move on. What am I going to do with this? You going to let this eat me alive? I can't sleep at night because it's something that I have no control or power over? And you may say there are certain things you may have power over. Okay, so let me just go out of my way, forget all the other responsibilities and the things going on in my life. I'm gonna go out my way and do all this stuff. All right, you do that. See how it works out for you. Okay, you commit your whole life to other people. See how that works out for you. See how it works out for you. When you put no care into yourself and you create an imbalance, see how that works out. I'm just more self-preserved now. It has drastically improved my life. Sorry, I gotta sound like a psycho, but I can't be boo-hooing over other people anymore, to the point it stops me from my grind or it affects me mentally. Hopefully this makes sense. And try not to take what I'm saying on surface level either, or too literally. I think I'm being a dead horse at this point, and you guys get what I'm saying. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube.